If you asked Caleb Hart what turned him into a millionaire HVAC owner, he'd probably say, a thermostat. But the real answer wasn't a part, a tool, or even a truck. It was a boring spreadsheet he hated, until it saved his business. In the next 10 minutes I'm breaking down, step by step, how a broke service tech went from a $2,800 bank balance to a 7-figure net worth, and the frameworks you can copy, pricing flaws, cash rules, and a sales system that doesn't depend on luck. And here's the stake: one bad contract almost wiped out Caleb, his 3-man crew, and the personal guarantee on his house. The mystery is why he was busy every day, revenue looked fine, and yet the bank account kept dropping. The overlooked lever shows up later, and it's not what most owners blame. Caleb grew up in western Pennsylvania and started in HVAC in 2008, right when homeowners were stretching furnaces another winter and new installs were slowing. He was the guy crawling through attics for $14 an hour, counting every gallon of gas. At 25, he got laid off, and a buddy offered him weekend side work, cleanings, capacitors, no heat calls. Caleb had a used meter, a borrowed recovery machine, and a 1999 van that leaked when it rained. He registered Hart Heating and Air because the licensing board required a name. That's it. No brand strategy. No marketing plan. Just a need to pay rent. The first month he did $6,400 in jobs. He felt rich. Then the credit card bill hit, parts, fuel, a new ladder, and 2 callbacks he ate for free. Net profit was $312. Have you ever looked at a week of work and realized you basically volunteered? Caleb didn't blame math. He blamed effort. So he worked harder. Nights. Sundays. Emergency calls that were not emergencies. By year 1 he was at $96,000 in revenue, with a notebook full of handwritten invoices and zero clue which jobs made money. The van died twice. Each time he fixed it with cash he didn't have because, in his words, I couldn't miss a day. What he didn't see was that missing a day would have been cheaper than running every day at the wrong price. The early wins came from one thing: speed. Caleb was fast, polite, and he answered the phone. In 2010 that alone separated you. He asked every customer for a review, and he put yard signs at every install. He also made a simple offer, $79 tune-up, credited to any repair. It filled the calendar and built a list. Within 18 months he hired his first helper, then a second tech. Revenue crossed $420,000. Caleb thought he'd made it. Then the trap snapped. A property manager offered him a 120-unit apartment maintenance contract. Steady work, they said. Caleb bid it like a homeowner job, low, fast, and optimistic. He signed without a lawyer because he didn't want to look difficult. He didn't notice the line that required 24/7 response times with penalties, or the part that let them delay payment for 60 days. Would you sign a deal that can fine you for being too busy? The first summer was brutal. Tenants crank thermostats, filters never get changed, and every failure becomes your fault. Caleb's guys were running 5 calls a day inside the complex, then trying to do higher margin residential work after hours. Quality slipped. Callbacks exploded. One Friday, a compressor swap went sideways. A new hire skipped a step on evacuation. The unit failed. The tenant complained. The manager demanded a full replacement, on Caleb's dime. Caleb argued. The manager forwarded the contract clause. Penalty plus replacement. $8,900. That was the beginning. Next came a refrigerant leak accusation, then a water damage claim tied to a condensate line. Their insurer went after Caleb's insurance. His premiums jumped. In 2013, the property manager withheld 2 months of invoices pending review. Payroll still hit every Friday. Caleb floated it on credit cards, then a merchant cash advance at 38% April because the bank said no. Revenue is vanity, cash is oxygen. Caleb didn't have oxygen. The near-bankruptcy moment came on a Tuesday. His bookkeeper, his cousin, paid in cash, texted that the account was overdrawn and checks were bouncing. Caleb drove to the office, opened a drawer, and found unopened mail, past due notices, a lien warning, and a lawsuit filing from a customer he'd accidentally ghosted during the apartment chaos. He sat on the shop floor and did something he hadn't done in years. He stopped moving. Because if he kept hustling, he was going to hustle straight into court. Here's the part most people miss: Caleb's company had crossed $1.1 million in sales that year. He was successful on paper. But he had no job costing, no deposit policy, and no boundaries on who he served. He was playing the business like a tech, fix the next problem, then the next, then the next. So what changed? He didn't need a motivational speech, he needed rules, rules that forced good decisions even when he was tired, broke, and embarrassed daily. The turning point started with humiliation. Caleb called a local HVAC owner he respected, a guy who looked boring and always had clean trucks. The owner asked one question: "What's your gross margin by job type?" Caleb had no answer. The owner gave him a template and a challenge: track labor hours, parts, and drive time for 2 weeks. Then raise prices until residential service hit 65% gross margin and replacements hit 45%. Caleb thought that sounded greedy. The owner said, "No, it's survival." So Caleb did 3 hard things in 1 month. First, he fired the cousin bookkeeper and hired a real office manager on payroll, with authority to say no and collect money. Second, he renegotiated payment terms, 50% deposit on installs, card on file for service members, and net 15 for commercial, no exceptions. Third, he dumped the apartment contract, even though it made up 30% of revenue. He offered a clean exit, finish open tickets, then walk. They threatened to sue. He held firm and kept every email. Was it scary to cut 1/3 of your sales when you're already drowning? Absolutely. But the next month his crew stopped doing penalty calls at 2 a.m., and suddenly they could do the work that paid. He also changed his marketing from cheap tune UPS to a membership plan, 2 visits a year, priority scheduling, and a set discount, $19 a month. That stabilized demand and made cash predictable. Now the scale up. Caleb didn't grow by adding more trucks first. He grew by tightening the machine. He built 3 systems. System 1 was dispatching. Every job got a time window, a script, and a pre-call text. Missed appointments dropped. System 2 was job costing. He reviewed a weekly dashboard every Monday: revenue, gross margin, labor efficiency, and accounts receivable over 30 days. If AR climbed, installs paused until collections caught up. System 3 was sales. He stopped bidding in living rooms and started presenting 3 options: repair, good replacement, best replacement. Financing became standard, not a last resort. Close rate went up, and so did average ticket. In 2016 he hired a service manager, then promoted his best tech to lead installer with a bonus tied to callback rates. He also implemented a rule: no one works with a chronic complainer twice. 1 toxic customer can steal a week of profit. By 2019, Hart Heating and Air was at $3.2 million with 14 people. Net profit after paying Caleb a market salary was 17%. In 2022, he crossed $4.8 million, kept profit steady, and started buying small rental duplexes with the cash he used to burn on interest. Cheap bids buy expensive problems. So what was the overlooked lever from the beginning? It was treating the company like a product, not a pile of emergencies, price correctly, control cash timing, and build repeatable steps so the business doesn't depend on one exhausted owner. Let's turn this into practical lessons you can use this week. Takeaway number 1, price for margin, not for hope. Set a floor, 60 to 70% gross on service, 40 to 50% on installs. If you can't hit it, you're undercharging or buying the wrong jobs. Takeaway number 2, deposits are not rude, they are risk control. For installs, collect 50% upfront and schedule only after funds clear. Takeaway number 3, cash flow is a weekly habit. Track for numbers every Monday, bank balance, AR over 30, AP due, and booked backlog. Decisions get easier when the scoreboard is visible. Takeaway number 4, hiring is leadership, not luck. Pay one strong office manager before you buy another truck. And remove family payroll if they can't run the process. Takeaway number 5, sell options, not arguments. Present good, better, best with clear warranties and monthly payments. People don't mind paying more when the choice feels controlled. If you're in the trades, ask yourself, are you growing revenue, or are you building a company that can breathe without you? Caleb became a millionaire the unglamorous way, by stopping the leaks in pricing, time, and cash, long before he upgraded the van. If this breakdown helped, hit like, subscribe, and tell me what trade you're in. This is Work Boots to Wealth, and we're here to turn hard work into ownership. And if you want a part 2, I'll show you the exact weekly dashboard Caleb used to climb out of the hole.